3 o'clock, I'm Sandy Hodge. A defence analyst is expecting an even longer drawn-out Iran war following recent attacks. The US says it has launched a fresh wave of strikes on Iran, accusing it of blatantly attacking a Cyprus flag container ship. The Revolutionary Guard Corps has closed the strait until further notice and says it fired warning shots at a ship using an unapproved route. Sky News' Peter Jennings says that President Donald Trump is stuck with limited options.
I think it's just going to be low-level conflict for an extended period until basically the conflict and then takes the back to more serious levels of military conflict.
The road back into Kaipolda is a step closer to reopening with crews clearing remaining hazards from State Highway 1 after last week's heavy flooding. The road remains closed from Chile to Kaipolda with the language facility also shut. Rocks and vegetation are currently being removed after falling onto the closed section of the highway on Friday. Work to replace rock where the road has been eaten away by floodwaters is also underway. NZTA says Tuesday is still expected to be the earliest for the road to be open, with some parts likely to be done one lane. Television producer Alex Ronan has broken his silence from Los Angeles and denied 33 serious fraud office charges against him. Claudia O'Neill has more.
The former Stripe Media managing director is accused of fraud and forgery charges involving an alleged $14.5 million of public funding and private financing. The alleged offending relates to at least a dozen TV shows. Bringan's set to make his first appearance in Auckland District Court via video link next month, where the judge will decide whether to withdraw a warrant for his arrest.
Bringan's told our newsroom he's engaging with the court process but says he's not guilty. More details have been revealed around the alleged murder of former UK MP Anne Widdecombe. The 78-year-old was found dead at her home in Devon this week, with a 28-year-old British man arrested today in South Yorkshire. A 26-year-old man was initially arrested, but has since been released. The BBC's Jenny Kumar says the police believe Widdecombe was attacked almost 24 hours before she was found.
They believe the attack on Anne Widdecombe happened at around 12:30 on Wednesday afternoon when she failed to appear online for a TV interview.
Local police say there's still no information to suggest Widdecombe's death was terrorism related. At least 12 people have died in a wildfire in southern Spain and others are still missing as firefighters battle to bring one of the country's deadliest blazes on record under control. The fire has been burning for 2 days in the Andalusia region, where one evacuee describes having to drive through flames to get to safety. Potential for an El Niño drought to stunt some fruit exports. The weather event's typically seen spring dominated by westerly winds with drier conditions likely for orchard hotspots like Tasman and Hawke's Bay. Earth Science New Zealand says this one could be record-breaking. CEO Golden Bay Fruit and Motueka Evan Hayward says conditions could produce smaller fruit, limiting exports to markets requiring larger produce.
For example, Taiwan, Vietnam is another one. So some of those markets might be shorted, but the fruit quality under drought conditions normally are really good. The pressures are good, the bricks levels are good.
News from CBS Sport, good afternoon. Argentina and Switzerland are locked at 1-1 and going to extra time in the Football World Cup quarterfinals. Alexis McAllister headed in the opener in the 10th minute for Argentina, while Switzerland's Dan Ngoye netted the equaliser in the 67th. Brielle Embolo has been red-carded after copping 2 yellow cards, the second for flopping. The West Indies have trounced the Black Caps by 7 wickets in their opening one-day in Providence. The hosts chased New Zealand's 267 with 7 balls to spare, highlighted by 95 from the bat of Kessie Carty and 87 not out from Shea Hope. Earlier, Daryl Mitchell top scored for the Black Caps with 65. You can see these international cricket coverage with Resine, premium quality paints and stains. All Blacks defence coach Tana Umaga is lauding Will Jordan after overtaking the side's Test try-scoring record. Jordan bagged a hat-trick in the win over Italy in the capital to reach 50 Test tries. He went past Umaga's former teammate Doug Howlett in doing so, and Umaga admits he never thought he'd see the day.
I didn't think that record would be broken, and it's just that it's been going for so long. But I've been with Will, been around him for 2 weeks. He worked so hard.
The All Blacks have moved to Auckland today ahead of facing Ireland on trailed the Canberra Raiders 24-6 in the second half of their NRLW fixture. ANZ Premiership netballers are experimenting with other career options with no confirmed competition for next year. Netball New Zealand are yet to give any indication of what happens now their broadcast deal with TVNZ has expired. Mystics defender Charlotte Manley's exploring an operatic pursuit on TikTok.
Because there's probably won't be any episodes next year, I thought I'd just come on here and just try my luck with singing. I'm going to be doing an opera cover.
editor of the Post and the Sunday Star Times, which means we are blessed with an editorial every Sunday from Matthew, including today. And today's editorial is the obvious made flesh, the obvious made concrete. The editorial is entitled "Everyone's Promises Crash into Fiscal Reality." So, of course, we had National's big transport vision this week, and that slammed into today's fiscal reality. We're talking about the roads of national significance. Ultra-cheap COVID-era borrowing is gone. Debt is far higher. The cost of building roads has effectively multiplied, and that forced Chris Bishop this week to scale back the party's long-standing roads of national significance ambitions. Promises he was cock-a-hoop about just a few years ago. We're going to do this. We're going to get spades and plans. And he was saying that the government having been in charge of the government and the development's finances and the situation we're in for the last 2.5 years, it was quite remarkable that he backed down. And of course, National has spent years championing major infrastructure. John Keaton, Judith Collins had a $31 billion 2020 plan, which was in fact masterminded by Chris Bishop, so he's been thinking about it for a while. And back in those days, borrowing costs under 1%. Today, 5 times higher. And Nicola Willis has actually added, as Matthew Bridgen noted, $47 billion to our debt, with another $62 billion forecast. And the upshot of that is that every new road now costs vastly more than it would have back in 2020. And so Chris, Mr. Bishop, accepted the new constraints. He kept 6 roads of national significance with firm start dates out of the first 14 put forward. And in announcing the scale back, he self-deprecatingly called himself over-ambitious. The 6 roads left are mostly focused on Auckland and Northland, where congestion and poor productivity drag on productivity. And at least we are getting something we can use, but 6 is not 14. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, Matthew points out, Labour is enjoying a political moment, falling much higher than expected, even though they have a void in concrete policies announced. But of course, as he points out, Labour faces its own fiscal credibility test. It's solar saver plan that we had this week, the one about getting everybody solar panels. That sits at the upper limit of what parties can promise. Nicola Willis argues, in fact, that Labour has an $18 billion gap between the promises and the revenue. Meanwhile, Labour's Barbara Edmonds says, oh, well, you know, a full fiscal plan will come after the proof. Okay, but what do